After the war, the British, American and Russian powers began a scramble for missile information. As some German scientists surrendered to the Americans, others joined the Russians or were interrogated by the British. The Russians used the German factories at Nordhausen, which they had now occupied, to construct and test rockets, before moving them back to various secret sites in Russia. America used the White Sands Proving Ground in New Mexico and the Redstone Arsenal in Alabama, later expanding to Cape Canaveral in Florida. With the expertise of the German technicians and the V2 parts and equipment that the Allies had managed to gather, the intercontinental ballistic missiles of the Cold War were developed, including the Russian R-7 and R-7A, and the American Atlas and Titan, while the British employed the V-bombers and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. The threat of nuclear war hung over the world until 1991, when the USSR collapsed. The Berlin Wall, a symbol of the war, came down 2 years earlier, in 1989. The V2, while inspiring the Cold War missiles, also encouraged the Russians and Americans to set their sights higher. The space race was the competition between the two countries to put the first man into space and onto the moon, using the modified intercontinental ballistic missiles R-7 and Atlas as launch vehicles. Russia gained most of the firsts over America, with the first satellite, Sputnik 1, launched in 1957, the first man, Yuri Gagarin, in space in 1961 in the Vostok 1 capsule, and the first spacewalk by Alexei Leonov took place in 1965, 2 years after the first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova, in 1963. However, in 1969, America and the Apollo 11 saw Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin setting foot on the moon for the first time, and as the Cold War wound down, both sides agreed to cooperate in space.